Mondays, Mondays, Musical Mondays. I hope you're having a very good day, everyone. And here is my new segment of Musical Mondays. That was my new theme tune, and I hope you liked it. Today for Musical Mondays, I was kind of a bit split because I wanted initially to do a review for the musical episode of Grey's Anatomy. Because I'm a huge fan of that show, I thought, do something special and sort of like the build up to Halloween. But instead, I'm going to take a look at one of my favourite musicals, the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And this film started out life as a stage show. It was written by and starring Richard O'Brien, he basically wrote the play after basically not being cast in anything. He had real difficulty getting work, so he just decided, well, if no one's going to hire me, I'm going to write my own musical. So he came up with this, a kind of musical rendition of the story of Frankenstein, but with a little bit more, camp and pageantry attached to it as well. And I absolutely love it. It's one of my favourite musicals, because every character in this film is just, they don't really care what anyone else thinks, and they're just going to be who they are, and they're just going to be free, and they're going to be happy, and they're going to be lucky, and they're going to be all these wonderful things, and they're going to dance the time warp, and they're going to, have fun in those leotards and suspenders, and they're just going to, start, dancing and everything like that. Like, they're just going to have a lot of fun, and they don't really care who knows it. And that's what I really love about this show, is every character in it feels absolutely free. And every character just doesn't really care what anyone else thinks. They are who they are. And I think that's something that a lot of people, like myself, really do kind of appreciate. So I do feel like this musical was made for someone like me, like someone who loves kind of like the goth, kind of like the more gothic Halloween style things, like, the Addams Family or something along those lines, but then also loves a little bit of a sing-song, a little bit of a musical number. And this film is also kind of a little bit of it's set in the 1950s, and it follows our main protagonists of Janet Weiss and Brad Majors. And in the film, they are played by Susan Sarandon, and I don't know who plays Brad, but I'm pretty sure I don't know who he is. I've forgotten who plays him. But yeah, Brad and Janet are basically a newly engaged couple. They basically start out the entire film attending someone else's wedding, and it's then that Brad and Janet have the bright idea to propose right there and then, and he sings a wonderful song called Damn It, Janet, and it's such a great song. I love it. It's such a wonderful song. Oh, and he goes, it's never been long since we began it. Damn it, Janet, I love you, kind of thing. And I love the backing singers that are kind of, this very kind of, they're very much like these very out in the sticks, kind of very stereotypical country folk kind of people. And they're the backing singers, and they say Janet's name like, damn it, Janet, Janet. In a very kind of blank sort of droll, and I just love that about this particular sequence. It's really funny. It has a lot of great one-liners. It's really hilarious. And what's really wonderful about this particular show, what's really great about Richard O'Brien's take on the musical genre, is he really does know how to play the role of stylist in these songs, because a lot of the musicals set around the 50s are very much pastiches, but you could really tell that with Richard O'Brien's music, he really does have he really knows the flavour of 50s music, and he really knows how to embed that into his songs. Even in the opening number, Science Fiction Double Feature, the opening sequence where the lips are basically singing, essentially, that entire sequence really just kind of screams 1950s nostalgia, and kind of, it's basically talking about science fiction B movies of the 1950s, 1960s, and 1970s. It's a great song, and it's probably one of my favourites out of the entire lot, but I love every song in this particular show. So Brad and Janet, through this wonderful number of Damn It, Janet, he actually proposes to Janet, and they decide to go and get married. But when they do, they end up getting lost on a very stormy night, and their car breaks down, they have a flat tire, and they have to go and find help. But along the way, they come across a castle that has a kind of light in the window, and the song "There's a Light" actually comes into play at this point, where they sing about being lost in the darkness and being afraid. But then Riff Raff, played by Richard O'Brien himself, sings a very great sequence. And all the songs in this film are really wonderful. There's a part where he goes, "In my life, in my life," and the lightning flashes. "There's a light over at the Frankenstein place," and they even make a reference to the fact that it's kind of Frankenstein-esque. I absolutely love this number. It's so creepy, it's so atmospheric, but it's so beautifully sung as well. And that's what I really love about this song. Even though you could think to yourself, it's supposed to be kind of horror themed, isn't it? But it manages to really kind of have this sense of fun and really kind of have this real degree of, oh, this is meant to be really, hilarious and having a good time at a party kind of thing. And this particular show is kind of synonymous. This particular film is really kind of notorious for being used in events. Like, they have these very special events. They either have midnight screenings where audience members come as the characters in the film, or they have these special events where it's especially designed to actually cater to Rocky Horror fans, and they would often have scenes that either quote the dialogue back to you. If you're ever in one of these events and you're watching this film for the first time, don't say I didn't warn you, because honestly, people during these events, they will literally quote dialogue verbatim as the scene's going on. As the scene is playing, they will quote the dialogue back to you, and you can't hear what the characters are saying. You're much better, having the audience explain the plot to you, because honestly, it's very difficult. So if you're ever watching Rocky Horror for the first time, watch it at home on Disney Plus or on Netflix or wherever you happen to find it, and just watch it on your own, or watch it with a friend, and just have a good laugh. Have a good laugh with friends, open a bottle of wine, and just have some fun. Because if you go to one of these events, they literally will quote past certain scenes in the film, and you cannot hear for the life of you what the characters are saying. So please go and watch it on your own if you're watching it for the very first time, because it is a nightmare watching it with an audience. It really is because you really do feel like, yeah, I can see that they're very enthusiastic, but part of me just kept thinking to myself, I really want to just enjoy the film, guys. I don't want to, I don't want to hear people, quote the plot and overreact to certain things. I know they're getting it. I know they're having fun and things like that, but I'm a bit grumpy when it comes to stuff like that. I'm a bit uptight, so I kind of have that feeling. But I get it why people quote stuff like that. Like, imagine if someone did that with the Avengers films. Like, wouldn't that be? I bet everyone's kind of like going, "Oh no, don't say that. They might get ideas." Like, it's just insane. But I absolutely love this entire sequence, and of course, they knock on the door, and Riff Raff answers the door and welcomes him into the house, and he says, "Oh, I'll go and get the master. He's currently entertaining at the moment, but I can let you in, and you can use our phone and things like that." And we meet a few cast of characters. We meet Riff Raff, the servant, and we meet Magenta, who I guess is supposed to be Riff Raff's sister, but he has quite a very close relationship with her, and it's really kind of almost cringe. It's almost bordering on incestual points, and it's really creepy and cringeworthy at times. But it's really kind of bizarre. But yeah, we're introduced to Magenta and Riff Raff, and they let Brad and Janet into the house, into the main hallway, and they're entertaining a party hosted by Dr. Frankenfurter, and they sing The Time Warp. It's astounding, time is fleeting, madness takes its toll. Listen closely, but not for very much longer. I've got to keep control. I remember doing the time warp, those drinking, those moments when let's do the time warp again. Let's do the time warp again. Oh, I love it. It's so good. I absolutely love it. There's so many great moments. There's even the moment where the narrator, played by Charles Gray, there's actually a narrator in this who's actually narrating the story as if it's like a storybook type story. It's almost like a fairy tale, the way this particular film's structured, where you have a narrator who, in this case, is played by Charles Gray, and he basically isn't just telling the story over like in voiceover. He literally is a character who will constantly, it will cut back to him at various moments, and he will literally have reactions, or he'll tell you literally what's going on in the story and try to keep you updated. But sometimes he will literally interact with the plot as it's going on. It's like one of those interactive film experiences, is one of those sing-along things, like in one of those events. And there's a moment during the song, the Time Warp, where he literally says, it's just a jump to the left, and then it would cut back to the dancers, and then they'd sing, and then you step to the right, put your hands on your hips, and bring your knees in tight. You do the pelvic thrust. It's enough to drive you insane. Let's do the time warp again. Let's do the time warp again. It's so good. I honestly, I'm sorry if I'm singing a lot, but I do just really love this musical a lot. It's so good. I love that song. And then we're introduced to the man himself, Tim Curry, playing none other than Frank-N-Furter. And he has a great song. He has the song Sweet Transvestite, which is a classic song from this particular musical, and it's a song that lets everybody just go loose. I actually got to a point where I actually knew every lyric in this song, and I'm not even ashamed to admit that. I absolutely, love this song. I love Tim Curry in this role. He's just so great at playing this very kind of devilishly, sinister, but devilishly, sassy and stylish as well. And I love the fact that he literally just owns every single scene he's in. Whenever he's in a scene in this film, he literally just owns it. No other actor has a chance against Tim Curry in this role, because he really does a good job of selling this character. He does a very good job of showing how over the top insane and full of energy he can be. He also shows how incredibly manipulative and how incredibly powerful and influential he can be over other people, like when he's talking to his guests as the song's going on. But he can also show you that he just wants companionship, and he can be very vulnerable in certain scenes, and I really do love that. And I love, even though he loves to troll Janet and Brad in this particular film, he does it because he wants companionship, and that's the only way he can actually do it. So he invents this creature. I'm going to sing a little bit of Sweet Transvestite. I'm just a sweet transvestite from transsexual Transylvania. What's that last line? I've forgotten what he says. Come up to the lab and see what's on the slab. I see you shiver with anticipation. I'll remove the cause, but not the symptom. Oh, I love it. It's so good. I love it. That last bit, I always manage to quote it every single time. I love that song. It's so amazing. And so Brad and Janet decide to join Frank-N-Furter, Columbia, Magenta, and Riff Raff upstairs in the lab to see what's on the slab. And they find out that Frank-N-Furter has actually made a human being. And he does it through electricity, through chemicals, and all these other things like in the Frankenstein story. But he also creates a man of incredible muscle. And I literally, had such a flutter. Honestly, I absolutely love Frankenfurter for making a bodybuilder man. Honestly, if I had the chance to create human life, I'd happily make a bodybuilder man, and I'd happily have him all to myself. So, yeah, he's my spirit animal. He's my shadow self, Frankenfurter, in every way. Yeah, I absolutely love it, and he literally is, incredibly strong and he's incredibly powerful, but he's also a bit of a baby as well, in the sense that he doesn't know, he can't speak. Well, I tell a lie, he can speak, but I think what's very interesting is he doesn't know what things are. So when characters do want to sleep with him, he kind of just does it willingly without really knowing what he's doing, and it really kind of makes you feel very creeped out and very sorry for Rocky Horror, because you really do get this sense that he is just basically this newborn creation who doesn't know what things are, and he's constantly being harassed and he's constantly being manhandled by Frankenfurter. And there's even a moment where Brad and Janet are so creeped out by Frankenfurter in a scene that really, was actually quite amazing for me. Like, not only does Frankenfurter try to have it on with Janet Weiss, which is a given, but at the same time, he also has a little bit of a good time with Brad as well. And you know what happens? Brad actually likes it, and he actually wants Frankenfurter to continue. And I thought, oh, that's amazing. And I thought, well, what's Janet going to think if she finds out you wanted to do that? But yeah, it's one of those things that really does raise an eyebrow. But I really do find, I really did find it, incredibly, empowering, because it literally is, a great, LGBTQ plus movie. It really does a good job of kind of embracing all the amazing aspects of the LGBTQ plus community, but it's not completely and utterly. It's not just a completely LGBTQ film either. It's also, a film that anybody can watch and anybody could enjoy and take enjoyment out of. And I think what really is great about the Rocky Horror Picture Show, I think the host of Council of Geeks put it the best, where he said this particular musical is just let your freak flag fly, and I think that's an incredible description for this idea, because it just lets you just kind of embrace that kind of insanity that's inside you, that little spark of madness, that wonderful, delicious spark of madness that's in all of us. And it basically just says, just run with it, let it rip and have some fun. And I think that's what's really wonderful. But this musical is absolutely impressive. I absolutely love the production design. I love the characters. I think the songs are absolutely incredible. I think every song has its own particular flavour of good. And they all feel different, even though they're in the same sort of tone and same sort of genre as everything else. And the film is basically trying to poke fun at, classical B movies of the 1950s and 1960s. And you definitely see that in one scene where all the characters are literally going back and forth, and they're saying something like Brad, Janet, Rocky, and things like that, and they all turn their heads very dramatically, as if, it's supposed to be a very dramatic moment. You expect the dun 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 music to pop in at some point, but it doesn't. It just stays completely silent. But the fact that there's all these pauses between each and every single, whenever every character says their names, it just kind of gives you this degree of unintentional comedy. But it's supposed to be intentionally comedic, because they're also making fun of the B movies of the 1950s, so it makes sense they're kind of doing that, because characters would do that in those 1950s B movies, especially with the works of Ed Wood and various other directors of that kind. So you really do get that impression there. But this film is just incredible. I remember when I watched this with my sister, she was under the impression that this was kind of like, because she was a huge fan of Rob Zombie's films, like The Devil's Rejects, House with a Thousand Corpses, and now Three from Hell. And she even likes, Rob Zombie's Halloween film. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of Rob Zombie anyway, but yeah, she was under the impression that it would be like House of a Thousand Corpses or like The Devil's Rejects, where it'd be very kind of, unpleasant and really kind of, dark and gritty and violent. But yeah, it's not as violent. There is a scene of implied cannibalism in one scene, but it's not that bad. It really just it's disturbing when he pulls off the sheet, but part of me just kept thinking to myself, it's purely theatrical and it's meant to be just fun. And that's what I really like about this particular show. It's just really fun. The songs are wonderful. The characters are great, and everyone in it just seems like they're having such a good time. Even though when they were making the film, it was absolute hell for a lot of people involved, including Richard O'Brien, who not only had to oversee screenwriting duties with the director Jim Sharman, but to make sure that he adapted it very fairly well, he also had to, get back in the costume of Riff Raff and actually play this role again. But he has a good time, and he definitely does say that while we were making it, it wasn't a good time at all. But having watched it and watched other people's reactions to it, it really does kind of give you its own special brand of joy and its own special brand of fun, even though when we were making it, we weren't having as much fun at all. I think that's really kind of an incredible gift to hear from someone like Richard O'Brien, and it's such a fantastic film. Overall, it's funny. I love all the songs. There's even a great there's so many wonderful moments in this particular film, but I absolutely just think it's a fantastic film. There's even a scene where Meatloaf gate crashes the unveiling of Rocky Horror, and he just sings a song. Opportunity bless my soul, I really love that rock and roll, kind of thing. It's so good. All the songs are absolutely wonderful in this musical, and I think it's a fantastic musical. If you haven't watched it, it's on Disney Plus at the moment, and I just think it's an amazing musical. And I will be looking at a follow-up of Rocky Horror called Shock Treatment at some point, and I think that's a film that's really underrated. The title song is just catchy as hell, and I absolutely love it. But I will be doing more musical stuff. I will be doing the Grey's Anatomy musical special at some point, and I will be doing other musical specials like the Buffy musical special. I'll also be doing musical TV series like Glee or something like that, kind of like as an overview thing. But I will be doing more musical stuff, and I really would love to hear your thoughts about what you want me to review next for Musical Mondays. And until then, happy Monday, and this has been Josh with Musical Mondays. Have a great day, take care, bye bye for now.